It got to the point where I was taking so many pills and drinking just to sleep at night that even if I didn't want to drink, I wouldn't be able to sleep.
All right, welcome back to another After Dark, everyone. Hope you all are having a good night so far. I wanted to check out, I've had some requests too, to get into Greg Oden a little bit here. So as far as I'm concerned, I mean, my Greg Oden knowledge is pretty thin. So, I mean, I saw him as a prospect coming out of the draft, and you know, that's when I learned about Kevin Durant as well, because they were coming out of the same draft. I know he was the #1 pick. And after that, next thing you know, he was injured. And that's basically it. For me, like, once he was injured and he was never the same, like, I never got to truly see, like, a peak Greg Oden. So I thought we'd check out a video here. It's from Nonstop. It's called The Tragic Story of Greg Oden. I figure it's time to learn a little bit, so hopefully you guys are in the mood for learning a little bit with me, and we'll check this out together. But anyways, I hope you all are having a good night. I'm having a decent night over here myself. Yeah, I guess without further ado, I'm going to link the original video down below in the description. So if you want to watch a Nonstop video without me, go right ahead. Everybody else, please leave a like to this video. Helps out a ton. And I think that's all I got to say for the intro. Let's see what I don't know, because it's going to be a lot. All right, here we go.
In the 2007 NBA draft, Greg Oden was the first overall pick, drafted ahead of Kevin Durant. And while KD will retire as one of the best players of all time, Oden was one of the biggest disappointments. Oden could have been a perennial all-star and a defensive player of the year, and some even compared him to Shaq. But sadly, injuries turned his career into a disaster, and he will forever be one of the biggest what-ifs in NBA history.
I'll be remembered as the biggest bust in NBA history.
Greg was always a big boy. He entered high school as a 7-footer and put together one of the most impressive youth careers in the history of Indiana. Even as a freshman, Oden's ability to change a game defensively was astonishing. He averaged 8 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game, shooting 72% from the field. His school lost in the regional semifinals that freshman year, but that would be the last time Oden lost a game.
Man, that's him in high school? Guy looks like he's 40 years old already. How does he look so old?
In the high school postseason. Playing alongside Mike Conley, Oden would go on to win 3 consecutive state championships, and their Lawrence North High School had a 103-7 record during Oden's 4-year tenure. Greg was named Indiana's Mr. Basketball, High School National Player of the Year, and McDonald's All-American. Oden had countless college offers, eventually opting for Ohio State, where he continued to dominate. He missed the start of the season due to a wrist injury, and because of which he could hardly dribble with his left hand.
Oh, damn.
But Oden was simply too big, too strong, and too agile for competition to really stop him. He averaged 15.7 points, 9.6 rebounds, and 3.3 blocks, and shot 62% from the field. And the Buckeyes entered March Madness as a #1 seed and a tournament favorite. Ohio State made it all the way to the finals against defending champion Florida Gators, where Oden had the best game of his college career. Against future NBA All-Stars Joakim Noah and Al Horford, Oden racked up 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 blocks.
All right, that's pretty good.
Showcasing all-around excellence on both ends of the court. But Florida was too experienced and too deep, and they won their second straight NCAA title. Despite the loss, the future was bright for Oden. Throughout his high school and college career, Greg never lost a home game. He was named a first-team All-American alongside Kevin Durant, and they were the first freshmen to do it since 1990. Durant and Oden were considered the best prospects in the 2007 NBA draft, which also featured Noah, Horford, Mike Conley, Brook Lopez, and Marc Gasol. But even though there were injury concerns, Oden was considered a sure thing. He was a player who had an NBA body since he was 15, and somebody who could impact the game right away, especially on defense. Some analysts compared Oden to Shaq, and in terms of size and agility, it's easy to see why. Oden was a 280-pound, 7-foot monster who could move quickly in tight spaces, and these guys don't come around very often. In 2007, all NBA teams still played with 2 traditional big men, so nobody was surprised when the Portland Trail Blazers selected Oden with the first overall pick, ahead of KD, Horford, and Conley. And even though nobody knew it back then, getting drafted first overall would be one of Oden's last career highlights. But before we get to the subsequent downfall of Oden's career, let us first tell you about today's video sponsor, SeatGeek, the #1 rated ticketing app with over...
I didn't know they did sponsors on Nonstop. Okay. That's your SeatGeek promo.
Non-stop. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app.
No,
this
I don't want to
opportunity
gamble.
won't last long.
Oh, no, it's SeatGeek, my bad.
Unfortunately, much like Oden's
SeatGeek's
first
cool.
NBA year. Because less than 3 months after being drafted, Oden had microfracture surgery on his right knee, which caused him to miss his entire first season. Oden finally made his NBA debut in 2008, but it took him only 13 minutes to get injured again.
Wow.
This time, it was his foot, and he left the game without scoring a single point.
I'm remembering why now I don't remember him, except for like all the hype and the fact that he was drafted. The first 2 seasons, yeah, he was done. He was gone. And KD was already making a splash.
A few weeks later, he returned to action, but he only recorded 3 points and 2 rebounds against the Heat.
Damn.
And the first bust whispers started to emerge. But then, finally, Oden showcased his true talent. He recorded double-doubles in 3 of his next 4 games, including a 22-point, 10-rebound performance in only 29 minutes against the Warriors.
Wow.
He stayed healthy for a while, and we finally saw a glimpse of what was advertised. During a 5-game stretch in January, Oden averaged 17 points, 12 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks per game. On February 8th against the Knicks, Oden had 17 points, 15 rebounds, and a career-high 6 blocks. Just a week later, Greg injured his kneecap and missed more than a month of action.
Damn. If I'm remembering this correctly, this is when Brandon Roy was still rocking out there in Portland, right? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but that's how I remember it. Like, it was supposed to be a 1-2 punch between Roy and Odom. That's what my memory serves me as, at least. So I might be wrong about that.
Despite 2 injuries, he played a solid 61 games as a rookie, finishing the season with 9 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 block in 21 minutes per game. Blazers made the playoffs, but Oden wasn't healthy enough to play more than 16 minutes and 5 points per game.
Jeez.
And Portland lost in the first round.
Yeah, there
when
he
the
is.
2009-10 season started, Oden wasn't in the best shape, but he was available, which was the most important thing. He recorded 12 rebounds and 5 blocks in the season opener and continued to improve as the year progressed. Oden had his best game of the season in late November, torching the Chicago Bulls for 24 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 blocks on 7 of 8 shooting.
Damn, man.
He recorded 13 points, 20 rebounds, and 4 blocks just a few games.
So when he's feeling good and he's not injured, he was, yeah, okay. So that's hard to call a guy like that a bust, you know, because he had the skill, he had the talent, he could compete in the NBA, but his health.
Games later against the Heat, Greg finally started showing signs of greatness, and the Blazers still hoped he'd become the league's next dominant center. Oden became the only player in the NBA to average at least 16 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 blocks per 36 minutes during the 2009-10 season. But there was a problem. His season lasted less than 2 months. Just 21 games into the season, Oden fractured a patella in his left knee.
Yeah. It was always the knee that I assumed got him, because I don't know. He seems like a weird case of he aged faster than everybody else. So it worked at his advantage in some ways, but I was just assuming because when I got older, my knees started going. So I had it in the back of my mind. It's got to be knee problems. There it is.
Holy cow, Portland doesn't need this.
Nope.
And when he was carried off the court on a stretcher, nobody knew the proportion of the disaster that lay ahead. 11 months after his last game, and days before the start of the new season, Oden had another microfracture surgery, which ended his 2010-2011 season before it even began. All of these injuries took a huge toll on Oden, even more mentally than physically. Because he felt like he disappointed the Blazers, his family, and friends, Oden stopped coming out of his house and developed an alcohol and painkiller addiction. His routine became beer and whiskey, coupled with 2 Percocets, at least 2 Vicodin, and at least 3 sleeping pills.
I mean, damn. That's a damn shame. I know last time I got injured and I tore my calf, I was out for weeks and weeks. I was drinking. I was drinking more than I should have been. But I wasn't taking all these muscle relaxers and sleeping pills and stuff. I was just I was drinking wine and making videos, talking basketball. That's a shame. It's like this is like the ultimate plus an injury. This is the ultimate recipe for just massive depression. I feel for the guy. It's not like he wanted to be injured.
It got to the point where I was taking so many pills and drinking just to sleep at night that even if I didn't want to drink, I wouldn't be able to sleep, said Oden. Despite all the problems, the Blazers still didn't want to give up on him, and they gave him a one-year contract extension. But before the 2012 season started, Oden suffered another setback, which postponed his comeback. And then on February 3rd, 2012, Oden underwent arthroscopic surgery on his right knee. 17 days later, he was scheduled for the same procedure on his left knee. However, during the operation, further damage to the articular cartilage was discovered, and Oden underwent a third microfracture surgery. Because Greg got ruled out not only for the 2012 season, but also for 2013, Blazers decided it was time to cut him.
Yeah.
But despite Oden playing just 82 games in 6 years and having more knee surgeries than playoff games, the promise of a dominant center was still tempting to NBA teams. In a low-risk, high-reward move, the two-time champions Miami Heat signed Oden for the 2014 season. But as the NBA game grew faster...
Okay, I bet this didn't last long because I don't remember this at all.
Oden's agility and explosiveness vanished, and he only played in garbage time minutes, scoring a measly 67 total points for the Heat. It became painfully obvious that he was just a washed-up version of a great talent that never blossomed. After the season ended, Oden continued to drown his sorrows in alcohol. And after one drunken argument with his girlfriend, otherwise peaceful Greg went ballistic, hitting her several times in the head, splitting open a wound that covered her face in blood.
Greg Oden.
Oh, man. Oh, man, and I was feeling sorry for this guy. I had no idea. About this. Yeah, I don't feel bad for you anymore, man. You don't do this. It's just it's one thing you don't do. You don't do. You leave the damn house if you have to. You don't do this.
Is arrested for domestic battery. Lawrence police made that arrest about 3:30 this morning at a relative's house.
Oden pleaded guilty to a felony charge of battery with moderate bodily injury, for which he received probation, a fine, and an order to attend counseling and Alcoholics Anonymous classes. That nasty incident sobered him up, and Oden started to train again, attempting one final return to basketball. On August 26, 2015, Oden signed a one-year, $1.2 million contract with the Yangsu Dragons of the Chinese Basketball Association. In 25 games for the club, he averaged 13 points, 12.6 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game, mainly off the bench. But the Dragons were not a playoff team, and chose to cut Oden near the end of the season. That was the final nail in the coffin of his painful, injury-riddled career. Greg decided to return to Ohio State, and in 2019, he graduated with a bachelor's degree in sports management. He currently works at Butler University as director of basketball operations. And even though Greg Oden called himself one of the biggest busts in NBA history,
I'll be remembered as the biggest bust in NBA history.
We don't think of him that way. Yes, he scored just 840 career points, which is the lowest mark ever by a first overall pick, if we discount the 2 first overall picks from 1948 and 1952. But unlike Anthony Bennett, Kwame Brown, or Michael Candyman Olowokandi, Oden wasn't unproductive because he wasn't good enough. He just had bad luck with injuries. If he didn't shatter those glass knees more times than we can even count, Oden would have almost certainly become one of the best centers in the NBA and a perennial all-star. Greg had a great basketball IQ. He was huge with long arms and nimble feet. Throughout high school and college, Oden was one of the most efficient players in American basketball history, shooting over 65% from the field. In 2009, with the 21 NBA games he was healthy, Oden shot over 60%, averaging 8.5 rebounds and 2.3 blocks in just 24 minutes per game. If Oden had the chance to be healthy for at least 5 years, he'd fight with Dwight Howard for Defensive Player of the Year between 2009 and 11, when Dwight won 3 consecutive times. But just like in the case of Sam Bowie, who the Blazers drafted ahead of Michael Jordan, Oden will not be remembered not for his play or his talent. He will forever be that guy with the busted knees the Blazers took instead of Kevin Durant.
Good video. Yeah, for real. It's not him that's the biggest bust in history. It's his knees that were the biggest bust. Or his legs in general. Yeah, it sounds a lot like what Yao Ming went through, except for Yao was mainly in the feet. So wow, I learned a lot about Greg Oden. Man, So what I don't remember is that every single time he came back from injury, he was putting up big numbers still. So he was still pretty good. Personally, yeah, getting drunk and depressed and, you know, beating up on your girl, I won't advocate for that whatsoever. That's not okay. I am glad he got his life back in order after that, though. Finished college, and now he's still involved in sports. So that's cool for him, I suppose. Man, I don't know what to say anymore. I wasn't expecting to hear that he was arrested for battery. Like, once that happens, man, my view on a guy is just completely different. You know, we've all suffered for some mental health issues. You know, me and many other people I know, we've indulged in some alcohol when we weren't feeling well mentally. And yeah, I never even came close to doing something like that. You know, anytime I've ever been drinking and I have like any kind of like elevated argument with a woman and I'm drinking, I exit. I leave. And it's maybe happened really just one time I can remember. And I exited. I got out of the situation because I'm like, you know what? This is not productive. We're not having fun anymore. And we'll deal with this in the morning. And then the morning started out with both of us apologizing. You know, because like, okay, yeah, we were just drunk. So that's just where I draw the line. Dudes beating up on women. Just not okay. And sorry, I didn't expect it to be a video about this topic at all. It's not what I came here for some basketball, but I ended up with this. So anyways, on that note, Greg Oden, not the biggest bust in NBA history, but his knees are definitely the biggest bust. I'm going to head out on that notion. Be good to your partners, everybody. Don't drink too much and don't take a bunch of Percocets while you're drinking. Not a good idea. All right, I'm out of here. Be good to your people. Love your loved ones. Tell them you love them if you haven't in a while. And yeah, I'll see you all very soon. Okay. Have a wonderful night.